on the wall behind me.
Spiral, Horton back at his own 5, gets one block, gets 2 blocks, turns upfield, got some running room across the 30, 35, he may go 40, what a block, midfield 40, 30, 20, 15, 10, 5, Mr. Horton, touchdown, Seahawks! Pushes him at 35, look at him go! He's down to 20, 15, he could go, he is gonna go! Touchdown Seahawks! Oh my word! A 67-yard run! Marshawn Lynch! Unbelievable! The beast is alive and well.
Welcome in, everyone, to a live Seahawks Aftermath with a special guest tonight joining me and Mike. We have Dan Viens in the house from Seahawks Forever. Dan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing so well, Bryce. It's been the best week ever.
Okay, I have to be polite and ask, Dan. You can't give me grief for being a good host and asking how you're doing. I know all three of us are in the dumps about what happened at the we will not mention earlier this week situation that had nothing to do with football, but broke all three of our hearts individually. So, yeah, I'm not touching on that subject at all.
Talking about the Kraken or Sounders?
No, I'm not going there, Dan. Dan, don't push me that direction, Dan. Don't do that. Exactly. Mike, how you doing, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing great because there was only one game on Monday night, and it was the Seahawks game, and that's the only thing that happened that night. And it was a nice, albeit sloppy win that started out really nice, and nothing else happened. How do you not go with Munoz there? Like, I just don't understand. You have your best guy going against their best guy. It was the last time you were going to see Springer and Vladdy. And sorry, all right, football podcast. Sorry. Yeah. 5-2. We're in the bye. It's good.
Okay, so speaking of that, let's get into the Seahawks because I know that's just going to be pouring more salt in the wound for people in our chat.
Thanks, Bryce.
As well. Hey, I'm dying here too. I gotta live in the country where the damn team beat the Mariners, and I gotta deal with all these random Blue Jay fans popping out of the wet work going, yeah, I've been cheering for the – no, you haven't. You couldn't name the last time they were in the freaking playoffs as it was.
Dodgers in 4.
Oh, yeah. I'm banking on Shohei just going off on them. So, anyhow, let's talk about the Seahawks. Let's not talk about the disappointment we're all dealing with. So, 5-2. But the question is really, how good is this team? Are they really 5-2 good? Are they better than that? Or were there some things that popped up in this Texans game that gave you guys some reservations? So, Dan, I'll start with you because you are the guest tonight on Seahawks Aftermath. How did you feel coming out of that Texans game going into the bye week?
Well, first of all, when I did my schedule prediction at the beginning of the season, I didn't have them 5-2 at this point, and yet I still had them winning 11 games. So they're way ahead of where I had the NFL and what the NFL is this year, where there are no dominant teams. None. You know, I know Kansas City kind of looked like they were last week, but let's consider the opponent, right? There are no dominant teams. There's as much parity forever. Roger Goodell and his staff are loving this because this is the whole system that they set up to create parity. Doesn't always work, but this year it's working. And you look at the NFC standings, and there are the 7 playoff spots are the 6-5-2 teams and the Packers who are 4-1-1. That's it. Like, that's how good this conference is. And so within that context, the Seahawks are a good team. They're as good as any team in this conference right now. They have as good a shot. In fact, I would argue that all 7 of those teams pretty much have an equal chance to go to the Super Bowl. I think I tweeted that the other day, like all 7 of them. It is a 7-horse race to the finish right now. I don't mean to really discount the Bears because they played really well the last 3 or 4 weeks. They're 4-2. I think they've had their bye, right? Or they're 4-3. They're 4-3. But it's they have as good a shot as anyone. And I've been saying this all year because it looked pretty early on like it was going this way in the conference, at least, if not the entire league. It is a week-to-week conference, and it has less to do with how good or bad objectively you think any given roster or team is, and how well you show up each and every week and play that week. And it's not always going to be pretty, and it certainly hasn't been with the Seahawks, but I consider that a good thing. The fact that they're 5-2 with still some growth ahead of them on offense and missing 3 of their best guys on defense, I think is remarkable. I think it's a testament to the coaching staff and their plan and the offseason plan and the whole direction that they intended to go. And I think you can only feel good. They're going to do the self-scouting thing, right, as they should. But if you have any negative feelings towards this team right now, I don't know what to tell you. They have as good a chance to go to the Super Bowl as any team in the NFC right now.
I will just say this ahead so everyone in the chat knows. Dan is dealing with some technical issues that are preventing him from doing things properly. So if you do have video lag or anything, everyone don't worry about it. It's fine. Dan, and with that, we all know we're all good. Mike, I'm just going to kind of ask you the same thing. I knew you were going to say that, Dan. Mike, I'll kind of ask you the same question here, man. After that Texans game, how do you feel about this team going into the bye, considering we know they're coming out and they're playing the Commanders, they're going to be playing the Cardinals again, and then they're going to have a lovely date with the LA Rams, which is the one game I have circled to really see where this team's at.
Yeah, I think it's hard not to feel good to even great, right? Like 5-2. Kind of looking back on last year, the hot start 3-0, then you lose 3 in a row. Like it just felt like after 6 weeks, it was like, all right, like this is going to just be an up and down season with Mike just trying to get his pieces together, and hopefully Ryan Grubb and Geno Smith can figure it out in the offense. And we know how that ended up working out, right? This year, it feels like, well, we're 5-2. We're in the toughest division in the NFC, which sucks. But hey, like 10 years ago, we were used to this, right? Like this is what made the LOB era because, iron sharpens iron. And I feel just like exactly like what Dan said, and I wrote about it today in my article at Field Gulls. My first down on my 4 down territory article was, this has the makings of the best team in the NFC. The pieces are there that you can see it, right? Like this defense is not 100%, but you don't want to say it's exactly like what Macdonald has done in Baltimore, but it feels exactly like what Macdonald has done in Baltimore. Like basically his talent of his own coaching talent made last year's defense good enough that this team won 9, you can say 10 games, even though that last game at the end didn't really matter. Like he made them competitive for all their flaws. He gets some of the pieces he wants in. He gets a full second off season to kind of do his thing. And all of a sudden this defense, I think, has kind of met our expectations when you consider all that has been lost, right? Like we're doing this right now without Derek Hall, without Devin Witherspoon, without Julian Love, without Reek Woolen for a time period. Like it was some bare bones. And we saw it at its worst against Tampa Bay when they were rolling. But now, just like, again, we'll talk about it later, but like just getting DeMarcus Lawrence back has completely, and Uchenna Nwosu has completely changed this edge lineup that we have. And you combine a defense that right now looks like that's a defense that you're going to see on Conference Championship Sunday. That's how good it is, in my opinion. And you combine it with this super hot duo of Sam Darnold and JSN, where it just feels like anything is possible, right? If we can just hit 4 or 5 of those intermediate or explosive plays at JSN, because that's what we've been doing all year so far, and we'll talk about it here in a second, don't turn the ball over and kind of stay away from the boneheaded mistakes, I see this team being exactly what you thought, Bryce, a 13-win team, a 12-win team that might get home field advantage. Like that is on the table because things are so even in the NFC and things look so kind of messy in the AFC. It's like, why not dream big? Now, for me, on my second down, I wrote, there's pieces in place where I can see this team really screwing this up. and being one and done in the playoffs, because there are certain things that they have to clean up. And it's unique because it's not necessarily all player driven. It's a lot of just in-game decisions, and then a couple of weird quirks on special teams. We keep getting field goals blocked. Like, just the little things that I've seen cost teams in the playoffs. And that's where it's like, I can see this being us sitting here on Conference Championship Sunday with a home game, and we're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're here. I can also see us being the 5 or 6 seed because we just blew a loss to the 49ers. And we're like, oh my gosh, like, we're one and done because we're going to go to Tampa Bay and lose. Like, there's a wild swing right now, which I did not know we had that type of ceiling before the year started. So that's what I'm really excited about.
Yeah, and for me, you know, Dan's got, I think, some tech issues going on here, so we'll just hold up until Dan's back in the chat.
Yeah.
But the thing I'll say about this, for me, the defense, the one thing I'm really excited about this defense now is if you lose some pieces, again, due to injury in the back half of the season, I don't think you may necessarily see another Tampa Bay situation, because Mike now can in-game adjust better because he knows what his talent is on the field in a big enough sample size, what a Ty Okada can do, what a Drake Thomas now, who is the starting linebacker, can do, what can some of the other edge rushers do, and the way he can mix and, you know, do different pressure things. Like, you've seen that from that Tampa Bay game where he lost Eric Hall, some of these injuries. Now we're getting healthy. And that's the thing for me when I look at the NFC West. Puka Nacua is out with an ankle injury, right? Okay, we get that. That's fine. Mm-hmm. That team, to me, still has some deficiencies defensively, especially in the secondary in LA. And the 49ers are somehow held to duct tape and, you know, fairy dust to continually keep winning the way they are. I look at it and I go, that ship is eventually going to sink. That flex seal is eventually going to give way on the 49ers.
Right? 40, yeah.
But it will. Like, the schedule for them, even in the back half now, does not look as favorable as it did preseason. Yeah. Now I think it looks a lot tougher. For me, I look at it and I go, the defense is good enough to get you to a conference championship game. It is. And it's good enough to get you to 13-4. If we see games more like this offense put out on the field against Houston on Monday night, where the coaching is causing more of the issues, this team could be, again, a 10-win team and have to sneak into the playoffs rather than being fully in control of their own destiny. And that's the thing that I think is driving me the most nuts about this when we talk about how good is this team really. It's Jekyll and Hyde for me in some respects.
100%.
We know what this defense is. The special teams has been good, but we have yet to see the Seattle Seahawks play a full game, a full complete game, all 3 phases. We have seen the closest thing is probably that Saints game, but that's not against a top-tier team. I want to see it versus the Rams. That's the game for me. I want to see it versus the Commanders. Can you play a full game against the Commanders on Sunday night in prime time on the road? All 3 phases are clicking. You get that from your team. And that doesn't mean it's going to be perfect all night, but at least 75% to the majority of it. So that's for me, you know, where I kind of look at this. But let's move on to this next question here, Mike, and I'll start with you on this one. What's been the biggest difference in how this defense plays compared to 2024 for you with Mike Macdonald and where he's setting the standard with this defense?
You know, I think you can just tell they're not as confused. They're more comfortable and confident in what they're doing. Like, I felt like last year, whenever we did do our blitzes, they just seemed a little bit messy. And like, yeah, we would hit every once in a while, but it just seemed like some guys were trying to figure stuff out with seconds to go before the opposing quarterback snapped the ball. And, you know, you look at this year, even some of the blitzes, like the Drake Thomas blitz for the sack, the Ty Okada play, like these guys, like they're just nailing it perfectly. Like there is no time for these quarterbacks to do anything when these timed blitzes. And again, I think like just guys that have just been in the system and getting that experience, you can just tell, just like in Baltimore, the jump from year 1 to year 2, and even we'll see what happens in year 3. I'm thinking that's a super, like legitimately a super type of jump we might see. Like Ty Okada, he looked like a completely different player against Houston than he did against Tampa Bay. 2 very different offenses, but like, did he not look fantastic on Monday night? Did Drake Thomas look like a role player? No, he looked like an exceptional football player, linebacker that could make plays, be great in coverage. The pass rush is coming together. I think you gave Mike Macdonald more toys, and they got more confident and more comfortable in what they're doing.
Yeah, for me, the difference is this front seven this year and the ability to get after the passer, the ability to create pressure without, I'm going to put Dan back on the green screen. Dan's dealing with some technical issues, getting it worked out. So we'll put Dan back there until that's all good, and he gives me the thumbs up on that he's good to go. But yeah, for me, it's just pass rush. It's the rotation. It's Byron Murphy being a factor this year. That's a huge difference for me compared to 2024. Like, we're talking about a guy where we were all concerned, okay, how many nose tackle snaps is he going to have to play? Jaron Reed, again, is eating into those, which is great because it's allowing Byron to do a little bit more in the 3-tech role, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. The other, I think thing you talked about, Chenna coming back to Chenna form where he was when he got his contract extension.
Yes.
Right? He's got, I think it's
Game
5
changer.
Sacks. Yeah.
4.5 or 5 sacks. Yeah. 5 sacks. Yeah.
And then on top of that, you look at and you go, DeMarcus Lawrence.
He's a game wrecker right now.
He's wrecking games 100%. Like,
yeah,
I will say, as far as this, if you have DeMarcus Lawrence in that Tampa Bay game, I think you win that football game. That's the impact of DeMarcus Lawrence right now.
100% agree, because it was clear Chenna hadn't gotten his sea legs back yet. And that's the thing is, like, even without DeMarcus Lawrence, like, we still held our own. Like, we have the best 1-2 defensive tackle punch in the NFL right now with Murphy and Leonard Williams. So, like, as long as they're together and healthy, it's just going to be hard for teams to run on us, right? Like, you're seeing it right now. Like, what have we given up? Less than, is it 90 yards or 60? It's some number we haven't given up in like over a month. Then you add DeMarcus Lawrence. Well, then there's just no running. You're not running the football. And Uchenna has been fantastic in the run defense over his career, but you're getting enough depth on the edge that it's allowing DeMarcus Lawrence to look like 2017, 2018, whatever year, like whenever he was at his apex. It looks like Chenna is healthy and fresh, and you keep letting these veterans look fresh, and then you bring Hall back. Like, I know you and I've talked about this for a while, like, oh, they need to make a trade at the deadline for an edge rusher, and I'm not against that. You never can have too many edge rushers or pressure guys that can get pressure after the quarterback, but like, it might be the best defensive line in football right now. It really might be. And then you got Ernest Jones and Drake Thomas that are just balling out right now.
So unfortunately, viewers, Dan's technical issues got too much, and he's going to have to stay out of the show tonight, which is unfortunate. But make sure, guys, I'll say this now, go over, sub up to Dan's channel. He just released a really great video breakdown on the Houston Texans game. So go sub up to Seahawks Forever if you're not already subbed up to it. Unfortunately, he won't be able to continue on this show tonight, but we'll make sure to get Dan back over on the Hawk side once he gets all of his tech stuff figured out with the internet down there in West Virginia. So I agree with you, Mike. I think this could be the best defensive line group as a group in the NFL. And
yes,
once you get, it sounds like we're going to get Derek Hall back versus the Commanders. Chenna's playing well. Now, who loses snaps in this group? And I have one name that I think loses snaps in this group, and that's Boye Mafe. And I thought Boye actually played okay and better than he has in the previous weeks against the Texans. Like, he got robbed of a strip sack. So I think there'll be a point where Boye might have a 2 or 3 game stretch where he racks up some sacks and kind of what Chenna's done. But you can't take Chenna off the field. You can't take DeMarcus Lawrence off the field. You're going to have to see what D-Law looks like when he gets back, because up until D-Law's injury, he was one of your best pass rushers or pass rush pressure creators.
Derek Hall, you
it's
mean?
It's going to be really –
right?
Sorry, yeah. Derek Hall. Yes, Derek Hall.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be interesting to see how they rotate this group going through the back half of the season now. And that's still not saying if they don't add somebody at the deadline.
Yeah, it kind of feels like – I'm trying to think of the type of player, because obviously, like, Hassan Reddick is not going to be traded because he's with Tampa Bay and they're going for it. But, like, like that very much almost more of an outside linebacker, like a speed rusher. It kind of feels like that's the one guy they might be missing. But at the same time, like, those 4, and yeah, Boye Mafe, he's going to have to fight for snaps. And that's what you want, right? Like, Boye Mafe is not a bad player. Is he having a great year right now? No. Did he play good on Monday night? I thought he actually did. But, like, if Derek Hall doesn't need to be rushed back because the other guys are picking up, like that's the way it needs to be. Like this is you've seen it with Philadelphia the last couple of years. You even seen it a little bit with Kansas City, the two main teams that have been in the Super Bowl the last few years. Like it's not necessarily just we've got Nick Bosa, like we've got the Hulk, right? Well, we have like an army of guys that are going to come after you wave after wave after wave with 4 good edge rushers. Again, I would love to get one of those premier like jump off the snap speed guys, because I don't think we have that necessarily right now. But also at the same time, it seems to be that when Macdonald calls a blitz, it's usually with with a speed type of player. It's usually with the nickel or a safety dropping down at the last second, and the quarterback has no idea that he's coming, and basically he's set hike. And it's like when Matt Hasselbeck toward the end of his career, when he got blitzed and he knew he had nothing to do, he would just fall down. It kind of felt like that. Not to shit on Matt Hasselbeck, love you, Matt, but like it's just one of those things where as long as you keep the defensive tackles healthy, right? And that's a big knock on that wood, because Jaron Reed is having a really good year, and we have not talked about him at all because you are getting a all-pro level performance from not just Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy, and they have completely sucked up the offensive line focus and the fear of the quarterback, that they're pushing those quarterbacks right into those edge rushers. It's just a perfect marriage right now. And we're not even talking about the secondary, Bryce. Like this secondary we thought was going to be the biggest strength before the season started, right? And they're getting all this experience, and we still got arguably 2 of our 5 best defensive players about to come back on the field on Sunday or next Sunday with Love and Witherspoon.
Yeah, and that's going to be the interesting, getting Love and Witherspoon back, because I think this again speaks to, if you lose Love down the stretch again, potentially, knock on wood, it doesn't happen, or maybe Kobe Bryant or somebody, Tyler Cotta is okay to put in there. Tyler Cotta is kind of on the same trajectory, in my opinion. Some people completely disagree and never want to see him on the field again. But if you look at Tyler Cotta, they're 3-1 with Tyler Cotta playing safety. He played great on Monday. I thought he played well in the Jacksonville game. Yeah, the Buccaneers game, everybody played bad in that back end. Like Nehemiah Pritchett came in and he played horrible. Like nobody was on point in that game. But the 3 games that Tyler Cotta has had to play safety, he has played, 4 games, they're 3-1. And Tyler Cotta to me is very similar, on a similar trajectory to what Kobe Bryant was last year. Kobe came in, it was rough a little bit to begin with. Kobe started to get his legs under him, and then Kobe excelled during the back half of the season. There's a argument to be made that could happen with Ty. And the way Mike Macdonald talks about Ty is very much a similar way to how he talked about Kobe Bryant. So let's move on.
Also, really quick, one guy we haven't even talked about yet, Nick Eamon-Worry is going to be a star. Like you just see it physically on the field. Mm-hmm. He just looks like an absolute nightmare. And that tipped play he had just shows like the talent is there. He just looks like an intimidating presence. And again, it's just another dude, right? Like the Seahawks got dudes all over the field on defense. And it just feels like this is all just building up to something special this year and next.
And the other guy that I think we'll talk a little bit on, but someone that's really impressed me and been a guy I've been high on for the last 3 years, is Drake Thomas. And Drake Thomas is that weak side linebacker, and he is playing like a man possessed right now. Mm-hmm. There were, out of this defensive game for the Seahawks versus the Texans, there's 2 plays that stand out in my mind right away with Drake Thomas. 1, or actually 3. 1 is in the goal line situation. He shoots the gap and just tackles, I think it was Chubb or Marks, in the backfield for a loss. Phenomenal read, and just to shoot through there. It was one of the first 3rd down and shorts for Houston in, I think, the first quarter or second quarter. And he blows up the fullback, like absolutely fills the hole and knocks the fullback about 3 yards back. And then the other one for me, the wheel route, he had to cover Woody Marks on, or the out.
Yes.
And he, like most linebackers in that situation, panic. Right? They're caught. Yep. He trusts his coaching. He trusts his ability. He runs back, catches up to Marks, knocks the ball out, plays right through, doesn't take an illegal contact, doesn't even come close to taking a PI, and forces an incomplete pass. Those are the reasons he is on the field now, and Tyrese Knight is not. Those are things he does that Tyrese Knight wasn't even doing as a rookie, and there's only a 1 year of experience gap between the 2 players and 1 year of age. It's not like we're talking like Drake Thomas has been in the NFL for 7 years. When Seattle got Drake Thomas, he was cut as a rookie. That's the beauty of it. And then he had obviously the injury last year. And now you're seeing what, and Mike talked about it on a 710 show going, yeah, like I trusted John and the pro personnel department saying like, hey, this guy's a dude, trust us, he's a dude. And that's hard for a coach that didn't have any involvement with that player or the process of getting him to trust your front office and be like, okay, I'll trust you. And then to see now the fruit come from that and see the player Drake Thomas is turning into, it's phenomenal. So awesome. Let's move on to this. And this drove me nuts. And it has driven me nuts for the first half of the season. What in the world does Klint Kubiak have against just running his own offense that works functionally so well? Having the top receiver in the NFL, which I don't think any of us had on the bingo card going into this season, was that JSM was going to be doing what he's doing, or that Sam Darnold was somehow going to play better than he had in Minnesota, more efficiently, just better overall. But when we're moving the ball and things are clicking, let's throw Jalen Milroe in the game. Let's throw a reverse pass to Cooper Kupp. Let's put Ken Walker in the slot and run a toss jet to him the wrong way against the grain and him lose 7 yards. Like there's like a big red button, I swear. And Klint Kubiak just sits there and goes, I'm going to hit this now and see what it does. And it drives me nuts because even in games we have won, Mike, there have been these moments where they have killed drives. And like, to me, the scariest thing, and I was doing a live watch party with Brandon Kane on Hawks Nest, and we were doing the play-by-play for the game and watching the game. And I said to Brandon at that moment, when they did that Cooper Kupp pass, I said, this is a momentum shift. You have let the Houston Texans come back into this game. We had the blocked field goal following. We let them go down and get a field goal. They came out after half and moved the ball down the field. Like you gave them so much life rather than putting a stake in them and putting it up 21-0. You allowed Houston to think they could still be in this ball game going into halftime, which is the worst thing you can do in the NFL because the NFL win margin is so small.
Right.
Like, what are your opinions on these like misfires by Klint Kubiak with this offense at points?
It's so confusing, right? Because like we saw a little bit of it last year, but it was because he had Taysom Hill and it just kind of felt like, well, I got him, I got to use him type of a thing. But like, they didn't even do those types of plays that we're seeing right now. And I got to tell you, like, I want to give him an A for like the 90%, 95% of what he calls and does. And then he'll do the one F move a game. And it just brings everything back down. And it just causes so much, just stress. Like I told you, like, I think this team can go to the Super Bowl. I also think this team could really screw up. Like, because of boneheaded decisions. You nailed it. This team was cooking. They were rolling. They were about to go up 21-0, okay? And we were about to, on Tuesday morning, have on First Take or Get Right, whatever these shows that you guys watch, like, saying, holy crap, here are the Seattle Seahawks. You've got not one but two MVP candidates with Sam Darnold and JSN. This defense is good. And then we would have ridden that into the whole week. Instead, you just had this ugly, sloppy thing where even the trick play was terrible. And I think we're 0 for 15 on trick plays this year. Like, just knock it off. Our running game is not great, but it's baby steps. Keep pounding the rock. Do the play action. Hit your tight ends and JSN and Cooper Kupp when you need to. And, like, you're scoring 27 points a game when you do that, right? Like, that is what is happening right now against good defenses. We were about to put a 21 burger with a few minutes to go in the first half against one of the best defenses in the NFL in the Houston Texans. Like, that is what was about to happen, right? We were about to send like those LOB era Monday night primetime messages where it's like, holy crap, the Seahawks are back. And instead you just drag yourself into the mud. And even when you've got the game back in hand and you've got the ball in your own 10-yard line, like, I love throwing it, but like, run the ball, milk the clock, make them milk their timeouts. So even if they like can possibly score, it's like 4 or 5 seconds left. And like, I felt like we just kept saying, no, we want to give you like the title of my article today is Seahawks play with their food. They almost choke on it. And I feel like that's what Kubiak is doing. It's like, Kubiak, we've given you a pretty good offensive line, an elite quarterback, a potentially all-time level wide receiver season right now from a young wide receiver. Like 2021 Cooper Kupp level is what we're watching right now. Oh, by the way, we also have Cooper Kupp there. Like, you have a stable of running backs that you believe in. Like, all the pieces are there to make a run for it. Oh, and by the way, we have a defense that it's okay to punt the football because we're not going to give up 20 points a game unless you screw up. And he's like, cool, I'm going to do 90% of what you just asked me to do, but then 10% of the time, which is, it's not even 10% of the time. It's like 1 or 2 snaps a game. Can I do something stupid? Like, just to have fun? It's like, we're not there yet. We're not the Kansas City Chiefs, like, that have been able to successfully do these trick plays multiple times a game. Like, until you can prove it, pound the rock, play action, 12 personnel, punch these teams in the mouth and lean on your defense, and you'll win 13 games. Do not play with your food, because the Philadelphia Eagles, the Detroit Lions, the LA Rams, the 49ers are going to make you choke on it if you are not careful. And it is so infuriating, because I think Kubiak is in line to get a head coaching job if he takes away these trick plays. That is how amazing our offense has been this year. He might be a one-and-done guy, but because he is self-sabotaging himself with these trick plays, he might be in Seattle for another year.
I'm not as high on Klint Kubiak being a head coach, to be brutally honest. I just don't see the demeanor from him to be a head coach. And I think at the same rate, you're right, Mike. He is self-sabotaging himself. I'm good with him staying here. But the thing I'll say is, even for me, and when I call plays, I usually use a trick play when I'm trying to spark my offense because we've fallen flat or because we're not able to do things. I'm never
not a dagger, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm never calling a trick play when I am moving the ball and going down the field on the other team, because I'm going to go, yeah, I'm on a roll with my stuff that my guys know inside and out. The percentage of trick plays working is not always very high because it takes a whole lot of factors to make it go right. You got to fool the defense. You got to get your guys to run things right and not have them screw it up in their own right, because it's not something they're normally doing. There's just so many variables to it. And so when you do it, it makes sense when you're in a situation where you're in a lull or you're slump or your offense isn't working as efficiently as it should. Exactly. Now I throw out my trick play. We don't see a whole bunch of special teams running reverse kickoffs, returns, because they usually use that when they need some sort of spark to help get life back into their team. And to your point, you have a defense that plays so well, you're not giving up 21 points a game. There's been one time you've done that this season. Other than that, you've kept everyone under 20 points, which has been pretty much phenomenal. So for me, again, even the play choice, Kupp has not had success throwing. If you're going to have anyone throw that, it should have been Torrey Horton. Torrey Horton's at least an ex-quarterback. He might have actually completed the ball. But, like, the other thing for me is this offense is so good at having everything look so similar and then adding a little bit of seasoning to it to change it. Like, Kupp's catch down the sideline. Classic
Shanahan stuff. Yep.
Yeah, like Kupp's catch down the sideline. That looks like one of our inside zone plays. Kupp looks like he's blocking like he always does. And then he's up the side and Sam looks to his left and comes back to the right and throws it. And that's that extra little bit of seasoning that these Shanahan, Kubiak offenses do. It looks so familiar. The defense can't get a key on it. But every time we put Milroe in the game, every time we've tried a weird trick play, it's out of a formation we don't generally use. So it's an immediate giveaway that, oh, this is something.
Yes.
How often have we run Cooper Kupp on a jet or reverse motion? Never. He hasn't done an orbit motion all year. He hasn't done a jet motion all year. Like, so you're giving away your clues to what you're trying to do on that. I get JSN was open, and if Cooper Kupp hits him with that, it's still maybe a 10-yard gain. It's not like he was throwing it to JSN in the end zone. Like,
right.
What was the point? Like, running out to JSN and get the first down. Like, it's just things like that for me where I want to see this offense not have that moment where it's like you're walking along the grass in your backyard and you forgot to pick up the rake and hit yourself in the face because you stepped on the rake. That's literally what it feels like when we do that.
Yeah, you know, I think here's the other thing is, like we talked about, like, Darnold was rolling, right? JSN was you know, showing Derek Stingley how it's done, right? The offensive line was holding its own. You're up 14. You're on the plus side of the field. I can't remember how much time was left in the half, but I think it was under 5 minutes. Like, why not as a play caller, like, you know, our running game needs to get better, right? You're up 14. you're going to at least get 3 points out of this. So you're going to be up 3 scores. Where's your 4-minute offense to where you really like build that momentum with the running game? Because if you can run that in for a score, especially a touchdown, like you don't, as you know, as a play caller, when you run it down the throat, you're not just scoring points, you're taking their soul, right? And that is how the Houston Texans would have given up at halftime. And again, maybe you still get a field goal out of that, but like just running that rock, milking that clock, this offense at times looks so explosive and so talented, but we still have not achieved that ability to ground and pound you into smithereens, which has been a hallmark of his mentor, Kyle Shanahan, and his father, Kubiak, and his mentor, Mike Shanahan. Like, that is what they will go to the Hall of Fame potentially for. If Kyle can get a Super Bowl, he won't. But like, that is like what makes those guys special, is like the bootleg, and they're going to kill you to death with it. But at the same time, they're going to pound out 1,000-yard rushers, and they're going to be able to move the ball on you. And like, that should be the focus right now. You're up 14. You've got this game in the bag. Like, you know what you have with Darnold. You know what you have with JSN. Run the ball, like, get better at it. And if you don't, then cool. You kick the field goal, you lean on your defense. That's what you're going to have to do in January. Like, what if there's a monsoon? What if you're playing in Philadelphia and there's a snowstorm and you can't get the ball to JSN the way you want to? You have to run the football. You don't need to run trick plays with Cooper freaking Kupp.
Overall, what I'll say is this is us nitpicking on an offense that overall has been pretty good.
Freaking awesome.
You know, it's been awesome.
Scoring points,
you know, but it's these things where, as people that can see the potential of this roster and this team, and I'm sure as well as everyone in the chat, it's infuriating because it's like, why are we the ones shooting ourselves in the foot, not another team actually finding a way to necessarily stump us or stop us? It's us getting in the way of ourselves. So we'll put that to bed. But Mike, let's do stock up, stock down. So give me 2 players for you from the offseason, the preseason, that stock have now gone up, and 2 guys that have gone down.
Yeah, I think a big one for me with going up is Charles Cross.
Oh, did we lose you, Mike? Think we might have lost Mike there. So the one thing I'll say, guys, apparently I'm losing all my guests tonight, which is fantastic. Hopefully Mike's able to get this sorted out. Yeah, I was going to say, Amy, it definitely is a bad internet day, apparently, for everybody. So we'll figure that out with Mike, and Mike will be able to hopefully get himself back in here. It is a very stoic face for Mike to freeze on, though. I will agree with you on that one, Johnny. It is a great face to freeze on. But I'll give you guys my stock up, my stock down right now, while we wait for Mike to get himself sorted and situated there and get his internet back. But for me, 2 players stock that's gone up. I think you got to look at AJ Barner is one of the guys immediately that stands out to me as stock that has gone up. You can see from where he was at the end of last season, which we all thought, okay, this will be interesting. Like, does Seattle carry AJ Barner as in tight end 1 into the season? Now you look at, you know, the fact that he's now basically taken over as Seahawks tight end number 1, and looks like he could end up becoming one of the better all-around tight ends in the NFL. He blocks well. His block on that one run for Charbonnet was absolutely fantastic. And you look at his receiving ability. He's now becoming the viable 3rd option in some respects in the passing game. You know, it's JSN, and then you can kind of argue, is it Cooper Kupp? Is it AJ Barner? Who's number 2? Who's number 3 in that situation? Looks like we got Mike back here. So, Mike, you had a very good frozen stoic face. I've got to be honest with you. It looked really good. Everyone in the chat thought it was amazing, but clearly there's something going on with the Wi-Fi down on the other side of the 49th today, because it's just not working out well. But I went with my first stock up player, and that was AJ Barner. So, Mike, give me yours.
Oh, yeah. Charles Cross, a guy that we just have not been sure if he was going to be the franchise tackle, if we're going to give him the extension. And you know who you have not heard from all year is Charles Cross. And you know what that is? That is great news. He has done a fantastic job being our left tackle, protecting Sam Darnold. And to his buddy on the other side, Abe Lucas has been great as well. You take away the Nick Bosa play, you haven't heard a word from him. I just feel like it's almost like it's like Russell Okung, but I'd even say you can make a case he's playing potentially better in his own way. And it's funny, it's like a guy that grew up in the Mike Leach system has found apparently has found a nice home in the Shanahan wide zone scheme and stuff. And so I just feel like Charles Cross, I don't think anyone's going to ever say he's a franchise left tackle, but like he is playing really well and looks like a guy I think we're all going to be all for giving an extension to the way he's played so far this year. So that's one of my guys that I have as a stock up. Just the fact that we're not having that conversation of like, oh my gosh, like, are we really going to give him money? Where now I feel like you can give him a pretty big extension and nobody's going to bat an eye, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I agree with all that. My second stock up is Uchenna Nwosu. And I know there's a bunch of other guys I could go with, but going into the second half of the season, from what I expected of Uchenna when he did eventually come back, I thought Uchenna was going to be okay. Grady's going to come in and really help with the run game. That's what he's going to provide to us. That's what we're expecting. I did not expect to see extension year Uchenna come back with the pass rush. I just didn't know if he was going to have the twitch and, off the leg injury, off of, the other injuries he's had, whether it be that I think it was a pec or bicep injury. Like, I didn't expect Uchenna to have the edge pass rushing presence at the same level that he did prior to those injuries. So to have Uchenna come back and be that, he is my second stock up guy.
Yeah, my second stock up guy is Byron Murphy, right? Like, a lot of angst when we took him at 16. It felt like a good value. I'll be honest, I was big on I think you got to take Jared Verse with that pick over Byron Murphy. And I thought Byron Murphy, didn't exactly pop last year, but there was a lot of encouraging stuff. But again, to see a potential all pro level season that we've seen so far from him, I think Leonard Williams is having a better year, but statistically, I don't know if there's a better defensive tackle in the NFL right now, statistically, numbers-wise, than Byron Murphy. The sacks, the pressure, his success in against the run, like, he has been the total package, and he looks like the guy that we all thought was going to go number 7, number 8, or whatever pick Michael Penix was going to go went to Atlanta. I think we all thought Atlanta was going to take Byron Murphy there. I think that was pick 9 or 10 or something. But, again, just a guy that you and I talk about this, and we talk about a lot with Jeff Simmons, is like, this team has a lot of red chips, a lot of good players that might make a Pro Bowl here and there. But who are your blue chips? Who is going to be on the poster when you're playing in a Super Bowl? And he is playing in the same realm as Chris Jones right now. He is playing in the same realm as Big Cat right now. And you have Big Cat on your team. And again, I can't say it enough. This team has the best 1-2 punch at defensive tackle right now in the run and against the pass. And that is something that I really do think that can carry this team to a division title and much, much more. So Byron Murphy being the I don't even want to say the Robin to Big Cat, but being the Batman to the Batman, if that makes sense.
Yeah, if we go with the Batman reference here, because I'm a big Batman nut, it's Big Cat's Michael Keaton, Byron Murphy is Christian Bale. That's what we've got going on right now. That is exactly what we've got going on right now in that Seattle. So is
Jaron Reed George Clooney, Robert Pattinson, or Val Kilmer in this scenario?
He's probably closer to somewhere in between the Robert Pattinson. Actually, you know what? Jaron Reed right now, because he is the savvy vet in that group that kind of gets forgotten about, he is actually Kevin Conroy, the voice actor from Batman the Animated Series.
There we go.
Because he was never a live action version, but he is an iconic voice in his own right, and always is kind of forgotten about. So that's my nerd. Sorry for everyone for the Batman nerdism. Huge Batman fan that's here, good. But my stock down. The stock down for me in this group. I know there's a lot of guys to pick from, but I really have to go with my stock down, and this is going to kind of pain me a little bit in the second half, is Jalen Sundell. Sundell for me has not, like, I was a huge Sundell advocate, and I still think he has an opportunity to turn this around, but there is something missing, or an issue has arisen to whether he's not physical enough to handle the NFL D tackles at the center position. He might be better suited at a guard. Who knows? But when you're running this wide zone and you're trying to get that edge and you're attacking three techs, Jalen Sundell, like, he's been okay. I'm not saying he's bad, just because I'm saying he's stocked down. But where I thought Jalen Sundell was going to be after that preseason, how well we saw him playing, to where he is right now, is a bit of a disappointment. And I think, I've said it on a few shows leading into this week. I think that's one of the reevaluations, that do you start reopening that competition between him and Olu at center going into this week and seeing, does Olu give us one? Because Olu didn't play bad to lose the job. That's the thing that's like, It wasn't like, oh man, we win the preseason, like, holy, Olu looks horrible. It was like, crap, Olu got hurt. Jalen got a bunch of extra reps, and then that was who they kind of went with. And if you remember when Mike was asked about their starting five, he said about Jalen, he goes, Jalen is the center right now, which always left that, for me, when your coach says that, there's always that door still being kind of unlocked. It's not firmly locked. I think that's something, to kind of go out. And I know I could have chose Boy Mafe. I could have chose, a bunch of different guys. But for me, I think Jalen Sundell's stock right now is not as high as it should be, and he's kind of in a downward trend for me right now.
Nice. For me, my stock down, and this one's, I hate to call it a stock down, but I think that's what I am going. It's more of a challenge, right? Like, this is more of a challenge. Devin Witherspoon. And the reason why I bring this up is injuries suck. It's part of the game. I get it. But there is such a high expectation that comes with the draft pick at which he is at. And it has not been all sunshine and roses for the other team, but his selection, and I know we weren't going to draft him, will always be tied to that player in Philadelphia, right? With Jalen Carter. And so it just feels like we're still waiting for him to pop. And it didn't feel like he was going to pop with Pete. And I'm still waiting for him to pop with Macdonald. And so my thing is, when he comes back, I feel like he's going to be fully healthy, right? It feels like if Monday night was a playoff game, he probably plays, I'm guessing, because he did not look healthy in the Cardinals game. And that might have been a mistake by him or a mistake by the coaching staff, the medical staff. I don't know, and I'm not a doctor. But when he comes back, I feel like it's time, because you're talking about adding one of the most talented players on this team, and athletically, mentally, one of the most talented defensive backs in the league. I do believe that. It just feels like, have we seen that yet? And I'm ready to see him pop in here and really allow this defense to take shape and become what it's truly. It feels like it's ascending to. Because whether it's Mariota or Jaden Daniels, that's a big game on Sunday Night Football. That's a game for playoff positioning. The Commanders are going to be fighting for the playoff lives at this point. You can feel the desperation starting to build for a team that kind of smelled like they wanted to go all in this year. And then you get a chance to put your foot on the throat against the Cardinals, who might be more competitive with Brissett. They've been feisty so far. And then, like you've mentioned, you got a chance to go to LA, where you're going to have more fans than the Rams. And you got a chance to make right a wrong in your own division. You already kind of did that with Arizona, but you need to go get another road division win. And you have not beaten the Rams at full strength since, what is it? You have the Baker Mayfield season. You lost the 2 games 2 years ago. You lost when it mattered most last year. Like, when is the last time the Mariners? Oh man, when's the last time the Seattle Seahawks have beaten Sean McVay when both were going at it at full strength? It's been a minute, to the point that you and I can't remember. That's not good. Like, that's where we're at on it.
Honestly, the last time they were at full strength, and I think Seattle actually beat them, would have been the neon green Russell Wilson game with Tedrick Thompson.
So 2019.
2019, that game where Tyler caught it in the corner and we had Tedrick finally gotten in. That's the last time I can think. Like, honestly, full strength Rams versus full strength Seahawks. is the last time we actually beat them.
Which is
saying a lot.
It's time. And if you go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and to the point, like you're trying to say, like get one of those wins in your division to make up for that 49er loss. You have to beat one of the top dogs in your division. Not beat up on the Cardinals. That's fine. You're expected to beat up on the Cardinals. Like you have the Cardinals number. You have to beat the 49ers, and you got to go beat the Rams.
And this is going to come down to Sam Darnold and JSN cooking probably. And then it's going to come down to if this defense, and specifically this secondary, if they can stop Matt Stafford, Puka Nacua, and Devontae Adams. And how are you going to do that? You need Witherspoon to be at his best. It is time for Spoon to be the player he was meant to be. I'm ready for him to see it, because you are not going to beat Puka and you're not going to beat Devontae unless you have that secondary locked and ready to roll.
And Corey is saying the exact same thing. Good to see you in the chat, Corey. I love Spoon too, but he needs to produce. His dog mentality is awesome, but he does need to produce. And Spoon's got, one interception in his NFL career, and it was in the Giants game for the pick six. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Like he needs to start producing. And I think having Nicky Manwari actually fully healthy inside at that nickel spot might actually help Spoon be more impactful. I think, not saying he's not impactful in the nickel. I'm not saying that at all. But let him focus on being outside, getting to actually play on the ball, and then, in dime packages and different things, bring him in and bring him off the edge and do some of the things like the double corner blitz that we did see against the Texans where they brought Woolen and Job off the edge. Do some things like that, but you don't have to necessarily put him in the nickel the whole time. Mike, let's go into this. Let's get into report cards.
Yeah.
Okay. I want your grade for the offense, your grade for the defense, and your grade for special teams.
Kind of boring. I'm going B+ on offense, B+ on defense, B+ in special teams. So offensively, this is better than I thought they were going to be. I thought they were a team that was going to be able to run the ball pretty good, and they were going to struggle to generate explosive plays in the passing game. Right now, this offense is passing the ball at a pretty dang good rate. How sustainable is it? We'll find out as the season progresses. But for right now, I'm enjoying this awesome dynamic 1-2 punch that Sam and JSN are putting up. They're still trying to figure out how to run the ball effectively. And that's just kind of where, if they can run the ball effectively, this is a top 6 or 7 offense. That's just what it is. Because when you can run the ball, it's going to open up more stuff for your tight ends, more stuff for Torrey Horton, more stuff for Cooper Kupp, and JSN's going to continue to get his. Defensively, B+. I think considering the injuries, I could make a case it's an A-. But at the end of the day, the fourth quarter against the 49ers still just sticks with me, and I hope it sticks with them until they see them again. And just the way that game went against Tampa Bay just really is a bummer, right? Because it was such a cool game. It just likes to come out on the wrong side of it. Like we said, a lot of injuries. So it's a B+ with some caveats that could be an A-, but I expect an A level at a minimum in the second half as the reinforcements arrive. Special teams, I'd give it an A. I think the punting's been good. I think the punt coverage, I think their punt returns, their kickoff returns have been good. Holani has, again, just been absolutely underrated. I really think he should get some recognition for some Pro Bowl recognition, the way he's played this year. Torrey Horton has brought that juice that we've wanted to see. I think Jason Myers has actually kicked the ball really well this year, but what is it, 4 now blocked kicks this year? It's 3 for sure. It might be 4 blocked kicks that we've had this year. That's the kind of shit that will cost you a playoff game. That's the kind of stuff that's going to cost you a division title. And that goes back to what I said earlier, there's just 3 or 4 things that if this team cleans it up, it's a 14 or 15 win team. No joke. I'm not even being sarcastic, but the things that they're doing makes it more of a 10 or 11 win type of team.
So for me, I'm going B- on offense.
Okay.
I'm going A- on defense. And I'm going B+ with special teams. For me, the frustrating factor with the offense is I completely agree with you on the run game. But I love the fact this has been the Sam Darnold and JSN show for the first half of the season. You can't tell me that teams are not now going to just literally put everything they can into taking JSN away. And what I mean by that is, we're not worried about him downfield. Like, that's fine. No, we're going to take JSN away quick because Sam likes to get him the ball quick. So we're going to do things to disrupt that and cause many problems. JSN may not see off coverage the rest of the year. He may get press and bracketed at the same time and in a short distance, and then roll a safety in that direction in its own right. Like, they have to start getting Arroyo involved. They have to get Barner more involved. They've got to get Horton and Cup involved, and they got to get the run game going. Like, and I'm not saying, okay, all of a sudden now you're focusing all your attention to not throwing to JSN. Like, still get him his touches, still target him, but you have to get other guys involved in this game plan more, because the thing that bothered me in the Texans game was Arroyo on that first or second drive that you score your touchdown on. You're featuring him and you're ripping apart that linebacking core and coverage with Arroyo, and then you forgot about him until like 3/4 of the way through the game into the late third quarter, and you throw him one more out route, and that was it.
Right.
Yes, I get he had the fumble, but that doesn't mean stop going to him. Where was AJ Barner? Like, I just talked about stock going up. They barely targeted AJ Barner in the game. Cup had the one catch. Like, you got to find a little bit more balance in your weapons. What's working is working, but it's not always going to work. And to your point, when playoffs come around and you're playing against the better teams consistently, JSN is not just going to be some guy you can hide. Like, JSN is now on the national level of everybody's view. Teams are going to pay attention to JSN more than they ever have now. So,
I was going to say, like, go ahead.
Well, no, go ahead now, Mike. I'm good on that on the offense. I'll talk about the defense after you're done.
I was just going to say, like, we talk about the weather changing and stuff. Like, a wide receiver getting hot in the playoffs and, like, going to a Super Bowl, like, that type of stuff happens, like, once a decade. Like, Larry Fitzgerald, Cooper Kupp, there's some Jerry Rice, like, runs. Like, you know, it's just it's rare that you get a situation where an offense just feeds one guy all the way through 2 or 3 playoff games. Like, it just doesn't happen very often. And so you're going to have to figure out something else. So, yeah, go ahead.
So on defense for me, the reason I'm giving it an A-, outside of the Buccaneers game, this defense has played phenomenal football. What more do you want them to do? Like, realistically, they held the 49ers. Yes, they had the mental lapse with Reek Wolin twice, but they took away Christian McCaffrey. He didn't kill you like he's done in the past. You shut down DK Metcalf and Aaron Rodgers practically. What else do you need to do? The Buccaneers game, you had some injuries, and they had a really good scheme, and your guys weren't prepared the way they should be, and Mike owned that. You got to go with an A- for the defense. Like, they're probably, in my opinion, top to bottom, one of the most complete defensive units in the NFL right now. When everybody's there and everybody's healthy and the depth guys have stepped up well, this team over the back half, I think, is going to even take another step forward as a defense, because now Mike and those guys know they have depth pieces that can come in and play significant snaps and be effective. So, and then on special teams, the block kicks are the issue for me. And I'll be honest, I want your opinion on this too, Mike. Has Michael Dixon not been nearly as impressive this year with some of his punting capabilities he used to show?
No, he hasn't. I think we also got used to just him being the best punter in the league for a bit, you know? And maybe that's something they have to figure out in the offseason if they can improve at that position and stuff. Again, like, I also feel like we haven't been so stuck in a situation where field position's been vital to us hanging around in a game. I think the first drive when we had to punt, I thought that was a fantastic punt that really put pressure on Houston right away, and it turned into a situation where we were able to get the ball in great field position. But you're right. Like, I feel like 2018, 2019, Michael Dixon was like literally like an MVP candidate for the Seahawks on those playoff teams. Just the way he was able to flip the field. And I still think those short yardage punts, he does a good job. But yes, the booms, I don't think we've seen as much this year as in years past.
So that's the midseason grade report for us. And I saw one person, I believe, I'm going to go find it right now. Amy Holmes, our moderator in the chat, who does an awesome job. Thank you again, Amy, for all you do, and Ian Victor as well. Amy goes, offense B+, defense an A-, special teams a B+. So me and Amy have very similar grades almost. Yeah, that's pretty much on point in a lot of ways, Amy. So I agree with your grades for sure. All right, so let's talk about this, Mike. Let's talk about the trade deadline, okay? People are thinking Seattle may make a move. There's been some reports that have come out saying, hey, they're 50-50 on whether or not they might move Reek Woolen. Who knows? So for you, I'll put it this way first off. Would you rather see Seattle buy at the deadline, or do you trust this roster as it's currently constructed?
Buy. I think if you have a quarterback that's playing hot, anything's possible. When you have someone that's putting up numbers that rival some of the greatest wide receiver seasons ever, you buy, right? If you got a defense that looks like it's going to get you to the Final Four on its own, or even just the divisional round, you buy. Because if you can do anything to improve your offensive line, or you can do anything to make your offense a little bit more explosive, or you can add one more chess piece to this defense, like why not? This is not the same situation. What were we, 6-3, 5-3 when we beat the Browns with PJ Walker barely, and then we decided to trade a second for Leonard Williams. Now, obviously, that ended up being a longer range type of move, but this team has a completely different aura and vibe than that type of team. That was a trade that you were doing to try and get into the playoffs. You're talking about moves to ensure you're playing a playoff game in Seattle rather than Detroit. These are moves where you're trying to win a division over the Rams. Like, I strongly believe, and we'll talk about this later, I really do think whoever wins the NFC West might be in the driver's seat to go to the Super Bowl. That's just the confidence level I have of whoever can survive that gauntlet. They may not get the 1 seed, but I think they're going to be the most equipped to make a run. And so I want to do everything I can to make that move this year, because I also think whatever moves you're going to do, there's a real good chance whoever you're trading for is going to want to stick around for next year, because this team looks like it's in a 2 or 3 year potential window to really go for it with this defense. With Sam Darnold's contract, you don't have to pay JSN quite yet. You technically don't have to pay Charles Cross yet. Like, there's just a lot of momentum building. So I am in a heavy buy, let's freaking go for it moment.
So I said this was a 3-year, 4-year rebuild with Mike. I think they've accelerated a year to a year and a half on it with the way that they're playing, with the hit on Sam Darnold, with JSN ascending, and even this offensive line playing somewhat better as a group. They're not as nearly as bad as they've been in the past. I think you've probably cut this rebuild by, or retool, however you want to phrase it, by a year and a half. So I'm in the buy mode too. I'm also not in the sell the farm mode. I'm in the let's think about how we buy here, because we do have a lot of good pieces, and we have to consider some of these guys are going to be up for contracts. So we got to make sure we're figuring out, is this piece going to be a rental, or are they going to be someone that is going to be around a part of our core going forward, like they made the decision with Leonard Williams and Ernest Jones. So I'm going to throw some names out here, Mike, and you tell me how you feel about it. One call I'm making, I am calling the New York Giants, and I'm going, hey, Daboll, your guys' season's practically cooked. What do you want for Kayvon Thibodeau? Bring in Kayvon Thibodeau. You got the 5th-year option with him. He helps reinforce the edge group. I think he could learn a thing or two from a DeMarcus Lawrence and from, a Chenna Nwosu. He gives you some flexibility to move up and down that line. And on top of that, you're not probably keeping Boye Mafe on whatever he may get on the open market, unless Boye decides he wants to come back. But I don't know if he fits what Mike Macdonald wants.
Yeah, I'd definitely be interested in it. I think it's just the question of, are they actually going to trade Kayvon Thibodeau, or do they want to load up to make a run for next year? Like, if you're Daboll and this season goes bad and he gets to keep his job one more year, like, it's one of those things where it's almost like, okay, well, next year if you don't make the playoffs, you and is it Joe Shane are going to get fired. So, like, I have a hard time seeing them make that move unless Thibodeau wants out and there's some attitude issues and stuff, and Seattle feels like they can welcome that. And Thibodeau might say, hey, like, I know Burns isn't going anywhere. Abdul Carter, you just drafted him. Like, I know my snap counts is on a limit and I want to get paid, so get me out of here. So maybe that's somehow a way it gets manufactured, but absolutely. What would it take? Can we get him for a third and change? Do they want a player in a third? Like I'm definitely interested in doing something like that.
So another thing for me is, I know everyone wants a, potential elite, edge type player. I don't think Max Crosby, they've already kind of said Tom Parasolo, I think, came out and said the Raiders aren't going to trade him, but I'd still call the Las Vegas Raiders, and I'd be calling the Las Vegas Raiders for JPJ. Give me a guy I can plug in and have as my future center, not at guard, center going forward. You get JPJ, he's an immediate upgrade at your center position, in my opinion. He is better than Sundell. He is better than Olu, and can do the things you need done in this scheme. And I think a better center might actually make Bradford more feasibly usable this season than what he's been, because I've seen some good stuff, but I also see where our centers kind of have – Sundell's kind of hampered some of Bradford a little bit, and even Zabel to points, especially in the run game. So, that's one guy that I look at. Another one I'd be calling Cleveland for Wyatt Teller. And I know a lot of Seahawks fans hate that name because of what happened with Chenna, but I'm pretty sure, if you made the argument to go and say, hey, Wyatt Teller comes in here at right guard and gives us an immediate upgrade, an opportunity to have a dominant offensive line, Chenna's probably going to sign off on that, being like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, we've had some history, obviously, but if he's going to come in here and help us get a freaking playoff push and get to that conference championship game, I don't think Chenna's going to be throwing his hands up in the air, and especially in the contract situation Chenna's in, and creating a big fuss when he's going to probably want another contract from Seattle next year. And then I think receiver is an area you might look at and see if you can't get somebody to bring in there, because the Fat Cup is kind of hit and miss, and Torrey Horton's kind of disappeared outside of his couple catches here and there for touchdowns. And then the last thing for me is I would call Baltimore. And I'd say, hey, what's your view of Marlon Humphrey? And if it takes Marlon Humphrey coming back this way and Reek Woolen going the other way in that exchange, Marlon Humphrey plays well in Mike Macdonald's defense. And yes, the Ravens defense is horrible this year. We get it. But Marlon Humphrey is still a very, very good football player and corner. I think he comes in and helps this defense and gives you a better corner than Reek Woolen going forward. So those are some names I just thought I'd throw out there. And, people can take them. They can leave them. They can crap all over them if they want to. But they're names that I think are some that John Schneider may have just to call and see where he feels those are.
Yeah, those are all really interesting names. I think other things you got to look at, is there anything in Miami that you want? I just don't think Chubb necessarily fits where we're at with the contract stuff like you were mentioning. But Jalen Phillips is a name. Some other Seahawk guys have talked about really being interested in getting him. And for me, I think you nailed it with the Saints or with the wide receivers. And I just continue to look at the Saints until we get word of an extension with Chris Olave. I think he looks really good right now. And I understand people are scared with the concussions, but man, what if you added Olave to this offense, right? Like, I understand we're still trying to figure out how to run, but you put Olave with JSN. Yeah, Cooper Kupp's around, but like, it's almost like, hey, we're going to take care of you, big guy. Like, that might be one of the best receiving trios in the league with JSN doing what he's doing. And Chris Olave looked like Ohio State Chris Olave on Sunday. And maybe that price is too expensive for Olave, but Rashid Shaheed, oof, like, I have a little concern with Torrey Horton. I'm a big fan of his, but I'm concerned of just how well, after the injury, how is he going to be able to play a 20-game season is what we're asking these guys to do. To where can Rashid Shaheed come in? I feel like he is just a perfect guy that Sam Darnold's going to just be like, you gave me that toy? Oh my gosh, I cannot wait 2 or 3 times a game to play action and look for that speedy mother effer running down there the middle of the field. And I'm going to chuck it and let him fly. And you know what? If he's not open, guess who's cutting across open in the middle, potentially JSN or Cooper Kupp over the middle of the field for 15, 20 yards. Like, I just feel like Shaheed, he's not Emmanuel Sanders, but kind of like the type of guy that created some more explosion for the 49ers team that went to the Super Bowl in 2019. Like he just opened things up for them in a way that I think Shaheed could do that in a very similar scheme.
I will give you a name that Shaheed works for in this offense, and this is going back to, this would be the 2010 Pittsburgh Steelers team, Mike Wallace.
Love it. Love that name. Yep.
That is exactly
the Miami Dolphins version.
Yeah. Guy that when they had that group of receivers for Big Ben there, Mike Wallace was great at being the guy to stretch the field, open it up for Santonio Holmes and that whole group. Actually, no, Holmes wasn't there anymore, I don't think.
That was early group, Antonio Brown.
Yeah, early Antonio Brown group. That's one guy I think of when I think of Shaheed as a guy that could come in and give you that role and that burner role. But Mike, let's talk about the road ahead here, man, before we get to some of these Q&As that have been piling up in the chat, and appreciate everybody, the 774 of you that have been in here for the show. And again, apologies for the earlier tech issues that we've had throughout this episode tonight. But what are some of your expectations in the second half of the season, Mike? Like, what do you expect from the Seahawks team?
I expect them to probably have a brief moment of adversity overall as a team. And I expect them to have to figure out how to get out of that and finish strong. And I expect them to continue to build off of winning home games. And I expect them to take advantage of these home games they're going to get against good teams. And I expect them to compete for a division championship. Because I think if they win the division championship, everything is on the table in the playoffs. I really do. Offensively, I expect them to figure out how to run the football well enough. And defensively, I think we're going to see over the next 10 games the best defense that we have seen since the Seattle Seahawks second half run in 2014 that led to the 1 seed and getting back to the Super Bowl. People forget, I think they got beat by the Chiefs in Kansas City and they got worked. And then after that, I want to say they won I want to say they won 8 in a row or something like that to finish out the year. And they were untouchable on defense. They just swallowed everybody up all the way through the playoffs. Even against Green Bay, they swallowed them up. And the only reason they gave up some points were some of those turnovers. And that was it, man. That was the apex of our best time as Seahawks fans, was that run with that defense. And I think this defense can get into that zip code. And that's some high praise. I really do think that is on the table. They're not going to be as good as that team, but that defense is so good that, again, like I keep harping, we can be sitting here in the last week of January or whatever it is, being waking up and holy crap, we are hosting an NFC championship game, and it's because of that defense.
So give me, Mike, your final record projection for the Seattle Seahawks. Now that we're at the halfway point, they're 5-2. How do you think this team finishes at the end of the year?
I think the floor is 11-6. I think the realistic thing is 12-5. And I think if you want to guarantee the division title and multiple home playoff games, it's 13-4. So my mind tells me 12-5, and you're just kind of sitting there on week 18, whether that's good enough or not to win the division. And my heart says this team is going to figure these things out, and they're going to get to 13-4. So if you ask my head, 12-5. You ask my heart, 13-4.
All right. So for me, the thing I want to see over the back half is I want to see complete football. My expectation is we will see complete football. And I think in one of the 2 Rams games, we are going to dominate the Rams in one of them. And I mean, it may not be a 44-30. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying we will play all 3 facets better than the Rams, and we will beat them by 2 touchdowns. And I think that will be the staple. I do think they'll fight some adversity. I think they may drop a game to a Tennessee Titan team. We're all kind of sitting there going, how did you drop that game? Yeah. But for me, my final record, I'm going to stick to what I said at the beginning of the year. I think this team is 13-4 and wins 2 playoff games. That's what I think is going to happen.
That'd be so much fun.
I'm still sitting on 13-4 Island, and I know John's sitting there with me. I think Dan took a lifeboat or shot a flare up to get off 13-4 Island a few weeks ago, but I'm still going with 13-4. I will stay 13-4 until they lose that 5th game of the season. I don't care how they get to it. Either way, I'm going with them being 13-4 because I just, over the back half here, I see a team that could be, with all the pieces coming back, and maybe they add a few at the trade deadline, at least one. I think you could see this team take off and just reach a new level that we, again, haven't seen since roughly that back half of that 2014 season, and just go.
Right. And kind of, I know we keep going nostalgia here. I'm going nostalgia here. There's a real shot that we see something kind of similar to the first Super Bowl Seahawks in the sense of, I think they were 2-2 when the season began, right? And then they won, what was that, 10 in a row or 11 in a row before they basically sat out the last game of the year to the Packers. If you coming off this bye and you get a banged up Commanders and you take care of business, that's a game that I think a lot of us had written down as an L. And then you have the game at the Rams, which again, I don't think people talk about enough. Like, there is going to be a lot of Seahawk fans at that game. That is not a home field advantage for the Rams. If you can send the message in that game, you start to see a scenario where you build potentially a massive winning streak where, again, you might slip up to Tennessee or you might have that trap game in Atlanta. Again, we're talking about the best road coach of all time right now with Mike Macdonald. But like, that 2005 team got like a big win against the Cowboys, if I remember, where they stole victory from the jaws of defeat from Drew Bledsoe. And it just felt like, all right, anything's possible. And then they had the Giants game that's going to live in infamy in Giants land with all the missed field goals and the false starts. But like, it just felt like, man, if you can get those big wins, like, you might run this for a while. And I really think you take that road game to the Rams, you might not lose a game until the Rams come to Seattle on that Thursday Night Football. And that might be like a legit, like, we're playing for a division title on that night and for the 1 seed. Like, again, the Commanders game, you take care of business at home against the Cardinals, and then you go to LA. If Seattle can have a 5-game winning streak and leave LA, you're 100% going to be in first place in the NFC West, and you might be thinking big, like dream big type of vibes if you can come out of that.
The one thing I'll say is, don't forget in the playoff picture, guys, everybody, the first seed, the number 1 seed is the team that gets the bye. Second seed has to play in the wild card weekend now. So Seattle could finish 13-4, but still have to play a wild card game, even by winning their division, if somebody else has a better record, like a Philadelphia Eagles or someone like that. So we'll see what happens on that end. But speaking of everybody and the chat, let's get to our Q&A blitz here, Mike, because we've got a whole bunch. I've picked a whole bunch as we've been going through, and there's been so many more. So let's start this off with Dogzilla comes in. Always good to see Dogzilla in here. He goes, I'm pretty excited about the Hawk season so far. It's been a blast with the chances of a great second half to the season. 100%.
Hope. Like, that's something this team has not felt since the let Russ cook era kind of faded. Like, just the legitimate hope of something special happening. It feels like it right now.
We've got Kumar in here. I want us to be consistently excellent in primetime. Primetime has been a problem for Mike Macdonald coach squads. Yeah, well, hopefully that Texans game, this Commanders game on Sunday night in 2 weekends from now, I guess, or a weekend from now, ends up being the ability to start getting a run on primetime for Mike like he's got on the road. This is something that I wanted to talk about a little bit. We didn't get to it, though, but I don't know how many people in our chat were at the game, but even watching that, the 7 p.m. time slot was really tough to watch. And I can't imagine what it was like for people on the East Coast or even in the Midwest or anything like that. But, like, I don't think the NFL, I also noticed there were limited TV breaks. There was nowhere near the amount of normal TV commercial breaks as there normally was. Like, you got to think, I don't think they ever do a 7 p.m. kickoff again on the West Coast.
It seemed rough. Like, I think it makes a little bit more sense when it's week 1. Remember they had that? I felt like 10 years ago, that was always the Raiders getting just destroyed by somebody on prime time. And I was always like, man, it'd be cool to get the Seahawks to have that. I think that makes a lot more sense the first week of September. I don't think it makes sense as you head into the fall season personally. And I don't know why that is. It just feels a little bit different where I guess summertime, you're still kind of out and about. The sun is still out at 7:00. It just feels a little bit different than that. Felt like a late game and the vibes are kind of weird. Obviously the Mariners impacted the vibes there too, but still.
Well, I think there's a couple things. You usually get the long weekend. You also get kids aren't really fully back in school at that point early in September, like that first week. So it makes it a little bit easier to kind of sell that. But yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it. I think, them trying to double up on Monday night. Here's a novel idea. Add one game to Sunday, and then one of your Monday night double headers goes on to a Thursday. Instead of doubling up on a Monday night, just add an extra game on a Sunday. I don't think anyone's going to care about an extra game being added to the Sunday time slate, whether it be a 10 a.m. or 1 o'clock kick or whatever it is. So Matt comes in with, as we were talking about earlier, where our hearts being broken. The Sounders are the most decorated team in the city at this point. Don't hate on the Sounders.
you kind of got us, not going to lie. Yeah.
John McGrath, always good to see John in the chat. My 13-4 Island survivor with me over there. I think Space has now jumped on the 13-4 bandwagon as well. So he's come and paddled his boat over to the island with us. 5-2 now, 8-2 to go. 13-4 is still the goal. What else do we got in here? Corey comes in with, I still think John makes a move before the deadline. I agree. I think everyone, if there is going to be a move made, it'll be made this upcoming week because they like to get them in before the trade deadline so they actually get some value out of it. We saw that with Leonard Williams. I think that's going to be what it is. Mike, did you freeze again? Mike froze again. All right. Well, I guess it's just me until Mike comes back. Unfortunately, everyone's stuck with me again. Hold on here. There we go. All right. Corey again. They cut. Oh, that's right. So, yes, Saubert did get cut today. Does that mean a move is incoming? I don't know if that means necessarily a move is incoming immediately. It could be leading to something. I think there's a couple things at play here. One, because he's a vested vet, they can get him straight to the practice squad. They can use 3 elevations, which means they may want to bring somebody else onto the 53-man roster. Maybe that's Robbie Oots. Maybe that's Christian Haynes. Who knows? Mike did bring up that both those guys have the opportunity to come back after this bye week. I also wonder if they don't want to see what they've got in Nick Caller up too, who is a guy that really showed well in the preseason as a blocker, has a similar size and skill set. Maybe they want to see what he can do as well. Maybe he's impressed enough in practice and they're rewarding him. I don't know. I do expect Saubert, though, to end up on the practice squad within the next day here, and they'll use his elevations over the next week here or two. And it looks like we got Mike back again. I'm actually kind of happy. For once, it's not me with the internet issues. It's everybody else, which is perfect. What else do we got in here? I'm just looking. Here we go. So K Soon comes in with Bryce. What is up with Knight? I've had a few thoughts on this. I know there's been talk about his injury that kind of plagued him down the back half of training camp. I think part of it is Drake Thomas has just played so well and earned the spot, which is something Mike's really big on. And the other part I wonder a little bit too here is, did the playbook expand too fast for Tyrese Knight to be able to play fast in it? That's the other part of me that I wonder is maybe the playbook got, the checks, the drops, whatever it is. It's just stuff that Knight's not completely comfortable with. And I think they'll throw him back in if they have to, but I don't know if he takes that job away from Drake Thomas unless Drake Thomas starts playing really poor football, which I don't see coming. Let's see here. Amy Holmes, our moderator, back in the chat here with, will be interesting to see changes made from the buy self-scouting. As a coach, personally, this is my favorite week of the season in season because you get to actually sit down. You're not game planning. You're not hyper-focused on an opponent yet. You're actually able to sit there and go through your own stuff. And as a coach, even go, okay, why did I make that decision? Klint Kubiak might be sitting there with Mike Macdonald in meetings going, yeah, I don't really have a good answer for why I called said play at this point. Like, clearly I thought it was going to work. And you know what? That's something I got to be better at going forward into the season. When we get in that situation again, I'll be more prepared for it. So that's actually a really good point, Amy, about this bye week, which is huge for this team.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see Oots come back and if they can figure out how to run the football more with Oots coming back. I think that's a big part of this bye week.
Totally agree. Corey comes back in. I think Sundell has to help Bradford a lot. Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I also think Sundell's struggling in his own right. Mm-hmm. I think the fact Christian Haynes has now been kind of brought up a few times at the press conferences. I wonder if Bradford struggles if they don't turn to Haynes at some point. I know that may scare a lot of people, but they may try that over the next week here or two. See if that's an option. What else do we got here? Jason James is in the chat with Okada played a lot better, but needs to stop dropping so deep. Trust yourself, youngster, and Thomas is improving as well. Yeah, both the guys. Ty Okada, to me, I think here's something I'm going to throw out here, Mike, a little bit. I wonder if Ty Okada, as well as he has played, and I think he'll still be part of that secondary rotation in some sub packages, it could make the Kobe Bryant extension very interesting come this offseason.
100% agree. I also think the safety position might be as deep as ever in the league, and it is so easy right now to get your hands on a really good safety for without breaking the bank. And if Kobe wants the bank to break, you can get depth elsewhere while letting Okada get those snaps. And I like Kobe, but Okada has played well enough that he would be starting on a lot of teams.
And there's some things in Okada's game that I've liked more than I've liked out of Kobe this year. One being, I think Ty Okada is a better athlete than Kobe Bryant, and he's actually shown it at points. And I also think Ty has gotten much better at being aggressive, coming down into the box and making tackles.
Yeah.
And so
100%.
I think there's a discussion to be had there. And I think if you say Kobe does walk, like you said, and goes chasing the money bag, which he has every right to do so, and I hope he gets all the money that he has coming to him, you could re-sign Ty Okada on a cheap deal, and you could re-sign D'Anthony Bell, and you already have Nick Emenwari, and you already have Julian Love, and then you can draft another safety in the draft in the mid-round.
And you just keep it going.
Exactly. So, no, that's a very good point there, Jason. Appreciate you in the chat, my friend. MWN, no Adam West comparison. Back to our Batman thing. I love Adam West, but Adam West was kind of this weird, quirky version. Kevin Conroy's voice for Batman is always an iconic one. And when I think of Jaron Reed, I think of iconic Seahawks defensive lineman at this point. Hawk 80 comes in with, I still have Jeff Fisher nightmares whenever we play the Rams. Yeah, those were not
mullet,
fun eras.
The mullet mustache, man. 8-8 football.
Misfit 74. Can Drake Thomas tackle? He can cover. Yes, Drake Thomas can tackle, and he tackles quite well.
I think that
Ernest, really good tackles in open field.
Yeah, I think Ernest Jones is playing the quarterback position so well. He's allowing Drake Thomas to just kind of be that wild animal right now and just play fearless and aggressive and very just locked in on his job. And I think it's a testament to what Ernest is doing. And I think I even made the comment, Ernest is no Roquan Smith. And I'm not saying he is, but he's playing that position so well for Mike right now. He's allowing other people to just play football. And I think you can see that with Drake Thomas. Drake isn't playing fearful at all. And that's why he's allowing Drake to play in a way that it's man, maybe we don't need to go trade for a linebacker. I still wouldn't hate adding depth, but he's playing so well because he's playing fast and fearless.
All right, Mookie's in our chat. Our boss there over at Field Gulls. Thanks for joining, Mookie. Appreciate it, man. He goes, I think there's a case for another wide receiver, and this is the trade talk part. Kupp is not a consistent week-to-week target, and neither is Horton. The passing game is thriving right now, but is very tenuous in case JSN isn't superhuman. This is why I also brought it up as well. I think there is a conversation to be made that they may need to add a receiver to this group. They may also look at it and go, there may be Mike Macdonald sitting there going, okay, we got to find a way to get Arroyo and Kupp involved and Barner involved in this offense, Clint. You have to find ways to scheme them open, as well as JSN may not be the first read, but he is the guy getting the most open the most consistently. I don't know if that's going to continue to happen as much in the second half. I still think it'll happen, but I think teams are going to strive more to take that away. You got to find ways to get the other guys involved in that offense
Yeah, and I think a big part there is like, don't forget, John Schneider's kind of got a little bit of a sweet tooth. Like, he likes to go after the flashy, receiving option. We've seen that before. Obviously, it's been more so in the off-season trade area, but like, again, I just go back to, I understand if the rumors about Olave potentially being on the market now, like, if you want to really fix this problem, like, I don't know how teams are going to be able to just lock in on JSN if Chris Olave is on this team with Cooper Kupp as the third option. Again, you might have to give up a second round pick for Olave, but if you're intent on signing him and having him be a part of this team, like, his value may not be as low as it is right now. And if you can just buy low on a guy that I think has number one receiver potential, again, is that the best use of your resources? I'm totally open to people disagreeing with that. I just think you create something that feels really special with JSN, Olave, and Sam Darnold, and it allows Kupp to be what he is now, and allows Horton to properly develop and grow over the next couple of years.
So I'm going to give you a scenario here, but we'll first look at John's comment here. He goes, man, I hate that we didn't pick Creed Humphrey in that draft. He was right there. That is going to be one of the all-time misses of John Schneider's era as Seahawks GM.
I mean, think about it. If Creed is taken there, do you think Pete Carroll is still the coach?
Ooh, good question.
Do you think Russell Wilson is still the quarterback if Creed Humphrey is like, I think there's a non-zero chance both of them are there.
It's a butterfly effect. That is what it is at that point.
Yes.
So I'm going to give you a scenario here, Mike.
Yeah.
And that is, if the trade compensation is all the same here, this is a hypothetical. We know that doesn't work in the NFL, but it's a hypothetical.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you these three players. Which one are you taking? Thibodeau, Chris Olave, or JPJ? And you have to trade the same over
Chris Olave.
Thibodeau?
100%. Because and the reason why is because I'm a little bit more bullish on the offensive line, because like you said, I almost would rather, let's see what Olu can do before we have to go trade for JPJ. It's not like exactly like the Raiders offensive line is looking amazing either. And there's other stuff going on there, we know. And Thibodeau is a name. I feel like if you take it's tough, right? If you take the concussions out of it, I think Olave is a better football player than Kayvon Thibodeau. That is my personal opinion. I think if you did a poll, you're going to get Thibodeau, overwhelming majority. Maybe some Duck fans will come in. Well, I mean, you got two Ducks there. I know you're a big Ducks fan, Bryce, so that's why you had two Ducks in that list.
Really? You want to go there?
No,
you want to go there, Mike?
No, but I think Olave just allows you to have, it's like that chess move, that over the top move on the offensive side, that it's like, yeah, JSN's going to get 1,800 yards this year and 15 touchdowns, but we also have Chris Olave, who's for the first time ever is going to be free, and he's going to have an elite quarterback and an elite number one premier blue chip receiver next to him. Oh, that he's friends with. Like, it just feels like, it's like, man, remember when they figured out how to get Olave, and then for the next 3 years, they were just an unbelievable offense? Like, it feels like that type of a move for me. And again, I'm a big Olave guy. I'm bigger on him than a lot of people are. I think even with the concussions, he looks like he's doing more with less in New Orleans, and I would love to see him free. That is my opinion. I think if you let him out, it's like letting it's letting that sports car get out on the open road. Look out is my opinion.
For me, out of those three names, it's JPJ is the one that I'm going after. And the reason I say this is we have seen in Seattle the amount of times we've had two really good receivers, sometimes even three. And if we can't protect our quarterback and we can't run the ball, doesn't matter how good they are. Like right now it's working, but
yeah,
you add JPJ to this conversation. I know the O-line for the Raiders is a mess, but JPJ last year as a rookie center, when he finally got to play his spot, was playing as one of the better centers in the NFL through the back half of last year. You bring him in and put him in the middle of this next to Gray Zabel, next to Charles Cross, next to an Abe Lucas, and now you're going, okay, cool. We have one spot on this offensive line that we for sure need to upgrade at guard in the draft and go get a good right guard in the draft. you now have a young and ascending, right, to the point where we know Abe Lucas is now paid. Charles Cross will get paid, but the three guys potentially, like if you have Zabel and JPJ and not Bradford, but someone to replace Bradford, who's a rookie that's good, your three interior guys are all on rookie deals. You have a solid young starting offensive line for probably the next 5 seasons. We are not having to change.
Hard to argue.
That's where for me, like it would probably go JPJ, Olave, Thibodeau, because I don't know if our D line necessarily needs that dominant. Mike Macdonald's never had a dominant edge rusher, even in Baltimore. They didn't. Mm-hmm. It was Clowney and Kyle Vanoy and Justin Metabikwe, right? Like those are the things where I look at where like that's how I would rank that. Anyhow, back to the chat here. Mookie comes in with, who are you two and what did you do with Dan? Unfortunately, yes, Dan did have his tech issues earlier, Mookie, so Dan had to step away from the show. But once Dan does get his internet situation figured out, which hopefully I think will be tomorrow, we will definitely have Dan back on the Hawks Eye and over on Seahawks Aftermath, maybe next week or the week after. But I know you all will see Dan, myself, and Mookie Alexander and Brandon Kane next Wednesday night for another episode of the Seahawks Syndicate. So make sure you guys tune in for that.
Yeah.
John McGrath also wanted them to draft Donovan Jackson or Tate Ratledge. Yeah, I did too. And at this rate, the way that they're using Arroyo, they would have been better taking one of those two. Like, realistically, like you could have got Tate Ratledge somewhere around in that area potentially if you wanted to instead of Arroyo. But I digress. We're with Arroyo, and I like Arroyo, and I think they just need to figure out how to use them. So let's see. What else we got? Ooh, I like this from Ian Victor. Bold prediction. JSN becomes the first receiver to go for 2,000 yards. He's on pace to beat Calvin Johnson's record.
Yeah, I feel like the schedule, the fact that we're playing a lot of AFC and NFC South teams really lends itself to some warmer weather road games at the end of the year, like going to Tennessee. And Tennessee can still get cold. Carolina can still get cold. Going to Atlanta in a dome, like those cold weather things, the things that I bring up about how you're going to be able to throw in those conditions, that's more of like Philadelphia in January, Tampa Bay in January during a monsoon. But right now, like that schedule really looks like he's going to have a lot of games where he's playing in 50, 60-degree weather, and he might be able to really rack up the yards. And how cool would that be, man? Just after DK wants out, right? After you kind of have to let Lockett go, like for him to step up after hearing the whole offseason of, well, can he play on the outside? And he drops a 2K burger on you would be unbelievable. Offensive player of the year, I hope.
All right. So one thing, I just see this in the chat, and I get it's a funny thing going on, but guys, with the chat, make sure you do respect what Amy and Ian talk about with the caps. I know it's kind of this ongoing joke. I get it. It's great. And Mookie, just to answer your point, you are our boss, but you do listen to Amy and Victor in the chat. They are the moderators of the Hawkseye chat. What they say goes, my friend, even though you are our boss, just to put that out there. Mike, we've been at this for about an hour and a half now. We're going to wrap this up on this end. Appreciate everybody being in the chat. So, Mike, upcoming content, what do you have going over? What new articles are you going to have coming out for Field Gulls over this bye week?
Yeah, we touched on it a little bit today, but go ahead and check out my 4-Down Territory. My weekly article dropped today if you want to get a little bit of wrapping up the Houston game and kind of looking ahead to the bye on some thoughts that I have on the game and going forward. And then this week, I'm going to have an article coming out of predicting what I think the NFL playoff standings are going to look like. A lot of focus on the Seahawks, but just kind of, hey, I feel like we're heading towards a point where we got a good idea. I'm going to predict how I think the regular season is going to finish up and into the playoffs. And then on Saturday, hoping to get another article breaking down 4 or 5 names to look at for prospects for the Seahawks in college football. Is there anybody you want to lose that you would like me to talk about? Because everyone I talked about lost that week. I can do more.
Talk about Illinois. Talk about Illinois all day long.
Okay, we can talk about Altmaier as a backup future quarterback for the Seahawks to help out your Huskies.
I'm going to the game. That's why I want you to talk about it.
Oh, that'd be fun. Nice. No, but I'll be hitting on a few prospects. Again, like we're talking about, like there's certain areas where it looks like this team's heading towards drafting in the secondary, in the trenches on the offensive side, maybe even another wide receiver. And so just kind of hitting on some of those names. You'll have to take a look at it. Hopefully we'll have that ready for you guys when you're watching college football on Saturday.
That all sounds great. I will definitely, Mike, I always read your articles. And for anyone else, again, the Hawk's Eye is affiliated with Field Gulls. Michael Thompson is a writer over there and contributor. Mookie Alexander is our editor. But there's also another whole great members of our staff that are over there.
Yeah, so much good content.
Castro, a bunch of those guys are all over there. It's awesome stuff that gets put out. So if you ever want to bookmark a website for Seattle Seahawks content, make sure you bookmark Field Gulls. Over here on the Hawks side, just recorded an amazing show with Corbin Smith of the Emerald City Spectrum and Locked On Seahawks, which will be dropping later this week. If you haven't already, check out me hopping on to the 12 Talk podcast, guys. The UK Seahawkers official podcast over there on the other side of the pond. Josh and Mitch do a fantastic job over there. So please, if you're subbing up here, go over there, watch that episode, sub up, give them some love over there. They're really trying to get that show up and off the ground over there, and they have an amazing Discord as well. I know there's a few people in there as well that are a part of that Discord, so go over there and help them out. And then I will also be doing a show with the German Seahawkers on Friday, kind of a crossover show.
That's cool.
With them. So always love talking to Jonas and the group over there at the German Seahawkers. I'm kind of just all over the place right now. And then lastly, but not least, next Wednesday night, Seahawks Syndicate is back. Myself, Brandon Kane, Mookie Alexander, and Dan Viens will all be together to do a recap of this first half of the season and what we think this team's going to look like going into the second half. So make sure, guys, you've got you're subscribed up to here. You got the notifications clicked. And if you know of any fellow Seahawks fans that like this type of content, make sure to share the show with them. But outside of that, everybody else, have a really good night. And Mike, as always, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.